Hello and welcome to Core Values, the All Things Broken Arrow podcast. I'm Dylan Rivera. Sitting across from me, as always, is Superintendent of Public Schools, Mr. Chuck Perry. And we've got a couple of Board of Education members here joining us today, and I'll let them do the honors of introducing themselves, telling a little bit about their background. And let's start with Dr. Kate Williams sitting across from me here.
Hi, Dr. Kate Williams, newest board member on the Board of Education, and that is my title, board member right now. And so my background is in education, I guess, to start with. I think we'll get into a little bit of how I got into Broken Arrow, so I'll save that story for later. But PhD from the University of Tulsa, so been interested in education, I think, my entire college and career. Ended up taking a different path into the business world, and so kind of found my way back into education through this service on the board.
Really great. Okay. Awesome. Mr. Steve Allen.
All right. Steve Allen, board president, have the honor and privilege of being able to serve in that capacity. Been on the board 15 and a half years, I believe, something like that. Broken Arrow graduate, former educator, was a teacher and a coach within Broken Arrow Public Schools. I'm 24 years in the insurance industry, former business owner. Now I'm just an employee. So
Okay.
happy to be here.
Well, my first question to you all is what brought you to Broken Arrow Public Schools? And that's where we turn that over to you for that question.
Yeah, I think we have a little different answers, which is fantastic. I love the diversity.
Well, we'll start with
on the
you.
board. So came to Oklahoma in 2009 from Detroit. So I don't know if you know a lot about Detroit. In 2009, it wasn't great. Recession. My husband got laid off. I stopped working because we had a baby. And so I knew I was going to apply to grad school, so I was applying everywhere, like all over the country, and quickly went from let's go to the best program that lets me into like who's giving me most money. Let's get the best offer.
Yeah.
And that was the University of Tulsa. So it was a no-brainer for us to move down here. And so that brought us to Tulsa originally. We had no idea where we were going to live. Got an apartment by the mall because we were like, oh, probably close to stuff. My husband didn't have a job yet. Ended up getting a job at Muskogee. And so later that spring of, what would that be, 2010, there was that tax credit that let you get money towards your down payment, which we needed because, finances weren't great. And that's how we ended up in Zone 5 because it was as close as we could get to in between Muskogee and Tulsa. And so totally on accident, just a matter of location. Didn't even think about Broken Arrow Public Schools, I'm sorry to say, at the time, because we were thinking we're going to be here for 5 years. That's usually what happens. You go to grad school, complete your program 5 to 6 years, and then you go somewhere else to teach. So we always said, okay, one more move after this. Life happened. Had another kid. Loved the area. Had no idea how much we would love Oklahoma and Tulsa and Broken Arrow. So decided to stay. We ended up we were pretty Tulsa-centric at first, because I was still at TU. There was a school in downtown Tulsa that was like half the price of daycare to go private school. So we ended up there. And then after I graduated, I got a job 2 blocks away, which is perfect. So we stayed in the private school for a while. And I did all of the, home angels, I think is what we called ourselves. PTA president, vice president, chaired all of it, did all of it. I was the mom, everyone knew. And so I loved it. That was great. But then, things changed. I was moving to self-employment and knew that was coming. And this was in 2018. And that's when we finally were like, well, let's figure out what's going on in public schools. If we're going to move, now's the time. So I did a deep, deep, deep dive into all of the public schools in the area and genuinely realized, we're in the best possible district we could be in. And at that time, Vanguard was coming online. The early college education, early college academy, I think early college high school is what it was called at the time. That was coming up. The board had recently, I don't remember exactly when that happened, but while we were making our decision, had passed. I learned that we were the highest paying for new teachers coming in. And so that to me said, not only do we have the facilities and the resources, but we have the leadership behind it. And so I was like, we're staying. This is amazing. Timber Ridge was coming, Timber Ridge was new and that's where our kids were going. And so that was how I ended up loving Broken Arrow Public Schools. So started on accident, came here completely by chance. And then we were like, holy cow, why is no one talking about this? Well, how do we not know that we're in the best district? So happy to be here. So that's my
awesome.
long story.
Talk about your kids now.
Yeah, so they are now 14 and 16, 9th and 11th grade, and they're both in that early college academy program, which is
great.
amazing. The fact that that's on NSU's campus, it's like a lot of schools have the early college. You can do TCC classes. I'm actually teaching an online course for dual enrollment, so I know other schools in the area do it, but no one does it like we do. And so they're really thriving.
That's a really good line to put on top of this podcast. No one does it like we do.
It's true.
Well, Mr. Steve Allen, like she said, your story is a little bit opposite, isn't it?
A little bit. It's funny, and as we talked before we started, and some preparations, how'd you get here? Well, I was born, basically. Actually, we moved to Broken Arrow in 74 with my mother. I was raised by a single mom. A lot of people may not know that. Was a wonderful woman, my idol. Moved us here in Broken Arrow in 74. Went to school here, was a lifer at BA. Started off at Southside Elementary. Went to Lynn Lane. I apologize. That was when Lynn Wood was getting built. Went to Sequoia South, and then graduated high school. So after graduation, went to college, wrestled in college, graduated college. Got my first coaching job in Kentucky, but always wanted to be back home. And a gentleman by the name of Steve Dunlap, former wrestling coach, contacted me, recruited me back, come back to Broken Arrow, come to work. I taught and coached at Broken Arrow, was a coach at the junior high level, and then went on to be a high school coach, high school head coach, and then
won a state championship.
We won state. Very fortunate. You're a great coach when you got good athletes. So they helped a lot. Was very fortunate. Some of the best times of my life, was coaching here at Broken Arrow. Just the families, the district, just what we built, being a part of something from the ground level in the start to build a tradition that's still here today was just so rewarding, and money can't replace those experiences and those feelings that we got. And unfortunately, like many teachers that are in the profession, money becomes an issue, and I had to make a career change, and I got in the insurance industry and went and did that. Ended up meeting my wife, got married. We were making a decision where we're going to live at. She's a Bixby grad. I'm a Broken Arrow grad. We looked at both spots and ended up purchasing a home out in East Broken Arrow at Forest Ridge, and been out there 24 years now. And our two children graduated Broken Arrow. One was a basketball player, one was a wrestler, and was able to become a board member. And here's where I am now. On the board 15 years later, but been in Broken Arrow 24 years and spent my life here as a student. And like Dr. Williams said, there's no better place to be than Broken Arrow. I firmly believe it. And you cut my wife open now, she bleeds black and gold now. So she likes Bixby, but she is diehard Broken Arrow. So
I always like asking what brought you here question, but I like even more asking what keeps you here. What's something that has kept you in the Broken Arrow Public School District, Dr. Williams?
Definitely the opportunities. Like I said, the early college academy is amazing for my kids right now. It's such a unique blend of the large school. They can do everything, go to all the games, be involved in sports. My youngest is on the soccer team, but still have those small class sizes, have those more focus groups. They've made some really great friends through there. There's no way we would, if you had to if I could hand pick an opportunity for my kids, this would be it. I know again, no one's doing it elsewhere.
What about you, Mr. Allen?
For me, being here once before from my teaching profession, the thing that keeps me here is the people and the community. We're probably the largest city in the United States that has small town feel. We have homecoming parade on Main Street. We have a vibrant Main Street now. And just everything that's going on to help make our community better. There's just no other place I'd rather be. And it's the people. My kids had a wonderful experience. There's many teachers in this district that made an impact on their lives. And just like there were when I went to school here, and I'm just a firm believer this is the best place to go to school in the state of Oklahoma.
Mr. Allen, I've heard you say before, you raised by a single mom and the impact of education, your teachers, your coaches on your life. Talk a little bit more about that. I've seen what you've done for our students here. It's like you want to give back to what you received.
Yeah. It's funny when you get in these board roles, they kind of look at you as not being their neighbor, so to speak. We're ordinary human beings coming from varying backgrounds. Mine was unique. There was bumps in the road. I challenged my mother as a single parent, found trouble at times, and there were some influential people that made an impact on my life. Miss Sherbert, my English teacher in high school, you want to talk about a tough woman. I mean, she was a bear, but she was always fair. And I wasn't the best student, but she always demanded my best, and she always provided support for me to be my best. And I'll never forget her. And another one was my fourth grade teacher at Linwood, Miss Pennington, was amazing, loving, caring. All she wanted to do is make sure I was successful, had a great experience in the classroom. And what they did too is I didn't know because, none of my family was college graduates. I didn't, a lot of them that had to go back and get GEDs. So, not saying education wasn't important in our family, but they didn't understand it. And coming from West Tulsa over there where they grew up at and all their trials and tribulations, that graduating wasn't the ultimate goal for them all the time. But people like Miss Sherbert, Miss Pennington, and my high school wrestling coach, Steve Hill, I didn't have a father in my life, and had this man that was about 6'9", just a intimidating force that demanded my best every day, told me when I did wrong, but loved me when I did right. And I knew after my experience with him that I wanted to go into coaching and try to make a difference in a kid's life. Such an impact. I'll never forget the story. My junior year, I was ranked 2 or 3 in the state, and I got a D on my report card. And took it on my mother, and she says, "You're quitting wrestling." And I was like, well, okay. She goes, "Well, you go tell your coach tomorrow's your last practice, and you're quitting wrestling." So I go in the next day, tell Coach Hill, and he said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I'm taking you home from practice." I was like, okay. So he took me home from practice, and he went in my house and had a conversation with my mother, and she gave him the business. Says, "I don't care what you say." And, he was pleading with her, just let him finish it out. "I promise you I'll make dang sure that he gets that grade up and when it won't happen again." And finally, after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm walking out the door, and she had agreed he has 3 weeks to get that grade up. And if it's not up, he will not wrestle. So I'm walking out with Coach Hill, and, this guy, my mom was 5 foot tall, but boy, she was tough. But this 6'9" man that wrestled heavyweight at University of Oklahoma and played football, he looks at me when we're on the porch, and he says, "Steve Allen, please don't make me have to come back to your house anymore." He goes, "I do not want to have to talk to your mama no more." So just those people, that made an impact on me. And I just knew I wanted to give back. And when I came back here and got to coach, that's when I knew even more, when my time was up in education, what can I do? What can I do to keep continuing to give back to Broken Arrow Public Schools? And, that's when that board situation came up, and I was able to get on the board, ran and got elected to the board. So
it's fantastic.
What kind of motivated you to get involved on the board?
So I vividly remember during COVID streaming and watching Mr. Steve Allen talking at a board meeting because we're finally settled. 2019, we start the school year, and then March happens. And then I was like, oh no, I never thought about the board. Because you're hearing all these things about these crazy board meetings. I'm like, I better tune in. And then listening to Mr. Allen and the board members talking about what's best for the students. Let's keep in mind best for the students, best for the teachers. That just really, to me, was like, okay, whew, relief. Like, this is I'm right. I was right. This is a great district, great support. And that kind of got my wheels turning up like, oh, I wonder, like, maybe that's the way that I can get involved. Because I was burnt out from all of the volunteer work I had done at the other school coming in, but I knew I'd eventually want to get back into it. And so that started it back in 2020, and then just kind of kept my eye on it. And then, everything happening in the state of Oklahoma kind of got the wheel, gears turning again of like, let's do this. I'd like to be involved. I'm really happy with how our district's going. I want to make sure I'm part of the conversation to keep it going in that direction.
Well, Mr. Allen, you talked a lot about some personal experiences, but I'm curious how your personal and professional experience shapes the way that you approach being a board member and being the board president.
Yeah, coming from my personal background, from my upbringing and my education experience and coaching experience here, I felt I had a lot to offer kids, offer the district. We have little Steve Allens running around with the same situation that I had, and I felt I could, make a difference in how policies made, and in my business background, I owned a business. We had budgets. We had to develop company policy. I just felt all those acumens that I had with business and my background, I could bring and really make an impact, a positive impact, I felt, to Broken Arrow Public Schools. And I think number one, too, what I felt was with being from Broken Arrow, being a coach, being a teacher, and none of my goals or what I wanted to do to bring as a board member were to help me personally. I truly love Broken Arrow Public Schools and wanted to do bring what I felt were my skills and abilities to help make Broken Arrow better. There are times where people will get on the board or a board for personal reasons, whatever that may be. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case for me. I just always wanted to try to make Broken Arrow better. And I felt with the skills I had through my business experience, through my education experience, that I could bring those and try to help shape what we do in Broken Arrow and make it the best place to be.
And I think that's something I appreciate is we've got such a great board without each of you don't have your own personal agendas. And talking to some other superintendents across the state, they do deal with that, and it's challenging, and it kind of stops creativity. It really chokes out leadership within the district, and it's not healthy long term. It's hard to have continuity and good things coming from that. So that's something that I've really appreciated. And at the same time, though, I feel like all five of you have very high standards. I mean, there's a aim for excellence. Let's not apologize for trying to be the best academically, engagement-wise, as far as what we offer students and the programs they can get into. That kind of pushes me, motivates me, challenges me, take that stuff back to our team, and it fires them up. So it's not like you're don't have any agenda and just sitting back. It's don't have any agenda, but let's be the best we can be in every area possible.
Dr. Williams, you've got 2 kids in the district, so how does that help you with being a board member, just having that perspective of going home every day and having the conversations about what's going on in the classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing that, having the parents talking to me, being at soccer games, and I mean, now I'm getting texts or pokes of like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's great. I love it. I'm like, they're like, oh, we know someone who can tell us and have that direct line. And then hearing from them about what's happening. I don't get as much of a perspective because they are on that small campus, but like their friends will come talk, when they come over because they've got friends in the larger high school too. So it is, I think, great to have that parent perspective of here's how our decisions are impacting the day to day coming home. And it is, and having the family relationships that we have.
Definitely.
Dr. Williams, to your point about that the parents, that is the one thing that's nice is as a board member, people will hear things or people will think things. And that is with being, she's involved with soccer and those other activities, is we can give the right information. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of what they think's the right information or what they might want to be the right information, but that is one of the benefits with serving and being involved in our communities and our zones that we live in, is we can give the right information and make sure everyone understands. I didn't. You go into being a board member with these maybe some preconceived notions of they're in this back room doing these things that trying to get you and get the parents, get the kids, and I'm sure Dr. Williams can contest to this, that once you get on the board, it's like, hold on a second, there's none of that going on, and there's a lot of work going on. That's what's happening, and that's one of the things that's nice. And like she talked about with the parents, you can give the right information, and they may not agree with it, but at least they're getting the right information. I think that is a real big benefit about being on the board.
Yeah, or sometimes it's just directing them. This is who you should talk to.
Exactly.
Don't go on Facebook. Go. This is the contact. Go talk to this person.
Well, let's zoom out a little bit and let's talk about across the state of Oklahoma, in the state of our education. From your perspective, what are some of the opportunities that are out there for really anybody in education in Oklahoma? Dr. Williams.
Only one way to go. It's up. Mm-hmm. So if we look at it from a positive, we have a lot of opportunities. And I do think one thing I'm interested in on the board is, as we are one of the larger districts, largest high school, and we have so much figured out, like how can we help other school districts? How can we help elevate other school districts? Even by being an example, by being involved, I know the Tell Our Story is the theme of the year, and I think that's fantastic. And hopefully other, maybe some districts that might be struggling can connect and get some insights from us and what we are doing right and help improve education across Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure. I'll pass that question along to you, Mr. Allen.
Well, mine's a little different maybe, but I will agree. There's nothing we can do but go up. I think we need to reset the mission and the goal, and I think we have the opportunity to do that. I think we have local leadership politically here that are great partners to Broken Arrow. We can help get that done. I think for Broken Arrow in particular, I think we got to continue to be the beacon, and people want to come to our district to see how we're doing things. But I think we need to get back to the foundational ways that education was meant to be. We've lost it. Many times, I think education now, they try to build the house from the roof down instead of the foundation up. I think we have opportunities to try to get laws passed, legislation passed to help us achieve those goals. I know Mr. Perry and the district has implemented many things at the lower level that are going to have positive impacts down the road. And we hear the challenges that within Broken Arrow that the teachers are facing. We got to continue to do things not only locally but the state level to help correct those things. Ordering in classrooms, student behaviors. I think right now is a great time for us to address the mental health issues statewide, to where the state. And I don't mean to speak out of turn, and I know Ms. Thompson's over here looking at me saying, "Be careful, Steve." But the schools, since my time on the board of 15 and a half years or whatever it may be, has taken on more roles and responsibilities that they've never done before in the past. Mental health now is an item that school districts are having to address versus at the state level for providing mental health services. And schools they're not trained properly. We're not funded properly to provide those services. So we really need to have that conversation right now. I think it's a great opportunity for us to do that, to where we can get better in that mental health stage in education, and we need that.
Can I say something that you kind of spurred a thought? If you look back 15 years, 20 years ago when Oklahoma was doing better as a state educationally, it seemed to be more local control. And the local school board was the conduit between, our patrons, our parents, and the school district itself, and being able to be nimble and maneuver and do what's best for our students, because every community is so different. Have you seen a reduction in that local control over time?
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges is where we're at in education now is we're seeing more and more of the erosion of local control with school boards. And if people follow closely enough and they follow legislation that's being proposed or passed, many of those do take away and erode the what local boards were elected to do, and it's make those decisions locally and develop those policies locally. I think that is a huge challenge that school boards across the state are facing, especially in here in Broken Arrow. It's happening every legislative session. There's something that comes or a mandate that comes out, and it erodes local control. It doesn't allow the elected officials, the community elected those officials to represent them, to make the decisions on their behalf. And I see that as a challenge. And I see it becoming more and more prevalent each year that I've been on the board.
And you've dealt with that on the board just recently, even with our out-of-district transfers, which used to be a local control thing, but now has to go through the State Department. And
yeah, I've been learning a lot and surprised at how much is taken out of our control.
Yeah.
The virtual days is another example that recently came up, and challenge and opportunity potentially if we can make change.
And I agree. And one of the things for that I've seen is when they take our local controls back, we don't see any solutions. Like you talked about, and I'm not saying advocating for virtual or not virtual, but the virtual days served a purpose of, from my understanding, is that was training for our staff, professional development and training. Well, the state wants to take them away, but they don't propose any solutions of how we make those days back up and provide that professional development.
I think the lack of conversations between them saying, hey, why are you doing it this way?
Right.
What can be done? What's the actual problem we're trying to solve?
I agree. And it's the throwing of the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. It's, one district may abuse it or a couple, and then everyone gets punished as a result of it. And, I know I've seen it, what you guys are doing and what the district's doing here on those days. And, those professional days are vitally important, especially when you're trying to, when the board puts a goal of increased national merit scholars, and you're trying to do those professional developments to help come up with ways and ideas and ways to improve the education of our students. And, now we got to pivot, with zero solutions from the state and figure out how do we make up that time.
I think a lot of people don't realize there's 500 plus school districts in Oklahoma, and to make one rule for all of them, I mean, just being the fifth largest in the state and then trying to play by the exact same rules as some of those smaller 2A districts, it doesn't make sense.
I agree. It doesn't. And, to me, being a board member, you've got to know your community because that's who we represent. You got to know your community values, your community expectations. And yes, there are parents that despise virtual days. But I think that's where it's important to educate why the district does virtual days and the positive impact that they do have from getting a better qualified teacher into that classroom and teaching their child every day. And so it may not be as bad in Broken Arrow to have virtual days as it may be in a small rural community. So I agree. I hate it. It's frustrating from a board perspective when you sit there and they say you're going to do this, but then there's help us fix this as a result of that. It's just do it and deal with the repercussions that come from it. And then, you can't provide the professional development, and maybe the skill set lacks from the teaching perspective in the classroom, and we don't get, there's just all these domino effects from it that happen. So
absolutely.
Well, so let's go beyond Broken Arrow. Is there a role that you think that school boards should be playing in advocating for students beyond their own district, beyond, their own community, and advocating for different districts, just on an education platform? Either one of you, whoever wants to tackle that.
I think so, absolutely. Yeah. I think we all need to work together to elevate Oklahoma's education, because we all win. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Like, we all win when Oklahoma students are well educated. Mm-hmm. When we have an educated workforce, companies come here. They, provide economic development. And so I would love to know, I don't have a solution either. I think it's a great conversation to have, though, as far as how can we help other districts. And I know we're close with other larger districts, but those rural districts, some of those districts that might be struggling more and more, like, how I think we do owe it to all of Oklahoma to help elevate education for students across the state.
Definitely.
I agree. No matter if you're in Western Oklahoma, if you have a strong school district, or you're Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, if we're all strong and rowing in the same direction, we're all better as a result of it. Our state's better, helps our economy. We're providing a great education for our kids. We can keep them here locally or in state to go to college. They come back and be productive citizens in our local communities. I think it's very important. I think, we've got to get all of our districts together and figure out how we stop the politicization of education and focus on education and get us back into the top 25 in education and what that looks like, and have good, honest conversations. School districts need to be accountable for when we don't meet the mark. We need to be accountable. We need to take ownership in that, and we need to make the necessary corrections to fix it. But we also need our legislators to come to the table as well and figure out a plan to help make us better in education in Oklahoma.
I like that you keep bringing up the word conversations, not just between school districts, but earlier you had talked about having conversations about those virtual days with parents and being able to have those types of forums where you guys are open with the public about what's going on in Broken Arrow Public Schools. So my question is, how do you all try to connect with the Broken Arrow community from your Board of Education seat? Does that make sense?
Like, personally, so I have Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I have only 107 followers, but more are welcome. I try to share updates and insights and just stuff that I think is interesting and relevant, especially if something is going on in our zone. I do try to keep up with that. And I think just talking to people, like genuinely conversation. So I do have a small business called People First Content, and that people first is at the heart of everything, I think, in business and in education, and here as a leader in the community. Like, making sure we're having those one-on-one conversations or those 1-on-5 conversations so that people, it spreads, I have a conversation with one mom who then talks to her friend, who talks to her friend. I think that's important. I love that we stream our meetings so that anyone can attend. Everyone's welcome in person, but you can also, I know you're busy, and so you can stream or watch it later. I think that's a really great way to keep up to and make sure that you know what's on the agenda, what's going on in our district.
Yeah. Mr. Allen?
Well, mine's a little different. I don't have a personal school board Facebook page, but I do have a Facebook page. But when you have the honor and privilege to get to serve as the president, you do naturally are engaged and involved in other things. Chamber, the Broken Arrow Chamber, involved in that. The EDC, involved in that. Trying to attend as many events as possible. I know we had a ribbon cutting the other day. I think Dr. Williams was at one of them. I was at one of them. Being at those things, and if parents want to have conversation questions, have those. Continue to always be willing to listen, be willing to answer any questions. And I try to be at everything I can. I do have a job. I know Dr. Williams has a job, so they don't pay us a lot to do this, so we do have to work sometimes, but just trying to be engaged in things that are going on in the community, attending state events. We had the Oklahoma State School Board Conference, being at those, engaging with other districts, just going and putting yourself out there and being around the community and those others that are in education as well.
And I don't think people see the behind the scenes of a school board meeting, what it takes to put together that agenda, and the subcommittee meetings that we have prior to those, where it requires 2 school board members to show up, and we're discussing items on the board agenda, and we have our board agenda meeting that we go over to all the texts and phone calls that are coming from me and all of our staff. It's a lot of time that it goes far beyond just a Monday night once a month.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And you're going to be guaranteed, as a board member, guaranteed you're going to commit 3 hours a month for sure, at a minimum. You're going to do your 2 hours of subcommittee. You're going to do your 1 hour plus of the meeting. So you're going to do that. But, you may be on more than one subcommittee. To Mr. Perry's point, and then, we're very fortunate in Broken Arrow to have a very, very good relationship with our city. So there are some times where we may have meetings that will call for Mr. Perry and a board member to be present at that. So you may be at those things. And so to Mr. Perry's point, it is well beyond just having the 1 to 2 hour meetings once a month. So
that's the fun part for me. And that's what I want to get involved in everything. And I'm trying to go to at least, I don't know, I probably won't make it, but one student activity. I'm if I can go one volleyball game and one wrestling meet at least throughout the course of the year.
We got a volleyball game tonight just outside of here.
That's right.
Soccer. That's what my kid's soccer schedule is. Oh my goodness. So I need to get a master list of all the activities. So being involved in everything. That's the fun part.
Well, and talking about being involved in everything, there's so many things that are going on in Broken Arrow Public Schools day to day, whether that be on the education side, the arts side, the athletic side. Is there something that you would say that you are most proud of in Broken Arrow Public Schools right now? That's a big question.
Is it just the sheer vastness of it? If I could be reincarnated to a Broken Arrow high school student, that would be incredible. Show choir? Holy cow.
You didn't have that in Detroit?
No, we did not. We had almost everything else. We had water polo. I played water, which, on my list of things to do in 5 years. Let's get to the water polo team. Gosh, I think I love all that. From the academic standpoint, all the variety, the options our kids have is amazing. Tulsa Tech, NSU, Vanguard, they can do, and they can go back and forth and in between. Just the fact that they can choose kind of how, it's like a choose your own adventure of how you want to do high school. And I think that's setting them up for the world right now too. You could work remote, or you could work hybrid, or you could, commute. You could live in Tulsa, but, go to New York twice a month, or I don't know, whatever it is. And I think that's really cool that our kids are getting a chance to kind of pick how they want to be educated and get those life skills along the way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree. I can't pinpoint one because I'm probably overbearing to my friends and people that know me about how good Broken Arrow is. And, I've got a friend now in Missouri. He's a bank president and owner, and I'm trying to get him down to next week's football game just to show him how we do things on Friday night in Broken Arrow, because I'm on their board of trustees, and he keeps hearing me brag about how we do things in Broken Arrow. But it's not just athletics. I mean, one of the things I am most proud of is the expectation that our board has set and our commitment to not only athletics, but importantly, equally, if not more important, is our commitment to fine arts. Mm-hmm. We're committed to that. We will not apologize about that, and we're going to continue. I know as I'm on the board and what I hear from other board members, I'm going to always commit to trying to invest more, make us better. I think that's one of the things that I'm very, very proud of. Our board is not making apologies about investing in those things and investing in fine arts and the investments we've made. We had the ribbon cutting a week or two ago for the new fine arts facility down on the other west side of campus.
Back where you used to wrestle.
Well, that wasn't my wrestling. That's how old I am, Dylan. My wrestling room was actually, it's not there anymore. It's where the soccer field is.
Okay.
Was connected to the gym.
Yep.
So, yeah. And to Dr. Williams' point, these kids are spoiled because I'm telling you right now, if I could come back to high school now,
Seriously, can you
it'd
imagine?
be great. Oh, it'd be
Oh
great.
my God, I'm looking at the electives list. I'm like, how are we going to pick?
Right,
There's so
right.
many awesome
Yeah.
choices.
And I mean, to pick one's hard. Another thing, I'm proud of how our board responded to the pandemic and how we came out of it. I think with 3 modes of education, and what we created out of that and what it's became now was really something to be proud of from a board member perspective.
Well, you were early proponent on our virtual. Like, we need to invest more than that. And, we're at a point today, we have 600 plus students in it, K through 12, and it's flourishing.
Mr. Perry is going to be nice to me on that aspect because I was, you talk about your personal selfish items to bring to the board. Maybe that was one of my hat. I wanted us to be, and I always felt that virtual school is going to be something that's going to explode. And it's kind of funny because after that, then here come the Epic Virtual Academy, not too far after. And I was a big pusher on expanding our virtual and being the very best at it. I wanted us to, if you need to go across the country, go across the country and find who does it the best and steal those ideas and bring them back to Broken Arrow and let's do it. And the way we responded to the pandemic, I'm very proud of that and where we're at now as a result of that with virtual, hybrid, in-person. I'm proud of the college high or the of kids being able to graduate with associate's degree when they leave Broken Arrow.
70 of them last year.
I mean, when I tell people that are, across the state and when I travel to Missouri and I mean, they're just blown away by it. And there's a lot I'm proud of.
10 National Merit Scholars this year.
I mean, and I'm proud of our board for setting the expectation of Mr. Perry of we want more. We want more National Merit Scholars. And, we got most we've ever had, I think, in a very long time.
It's been a while.
And, setting those standards is something I'm proud of. I'm proud, and probably one that's really, really kind of dear to me, and is I'm proud of Mr. Perry and the culture that he's created in Broken Arrow. I think it's the best it's ever been, from top to bottom. And I know it starts with our board. Our board has a great relationship with each other. We all have our varying views and opinions and ideas, but we work very well together. We all have the same mission, but the culture that Mr. Perry has set is something I'm very, very proud of as well.
I'll kind of piggyback off that. I was able to talk to a student athlete in the preseason before this school year even started, and I won't name the athlete or where he was at previously, but he had told me that being here at Broken Arrow, everything is just brighter. He said it just feels like a family feel, and he had only been here for maybe a year, but he just had that feeling being here at Broken Arrow Public Schools, so that goes along with that.
I've been testing it because I'm like, okay, what's wrong, right? Everyone's too nice. So the thing I'm trying to do is go and talk to all the cabinet members and meet their teams too. And it's like, no, this is genuinely like, it starts at the top. And
well, we've got
great culture, great people. And one thing I love, and the virtuals was actually a big thing that I was happy to be part of Broken Arrow, how that handled, because it wasn't smooth at first, but we fixed it. And it's like, we're going to be accountable. We're going to figure out, we're going to admit when stuff isn't working. Right. And then we're going to figure out how to make it work. And that, to me, is the sign of really great leadership.
That's a sign of growth. And in this district, things are always growing. The best is yet to come. Yes. So as we continue to grow, where do you see the best opportunities and the best places for growth to really take over here in Broken Arrow?
I think it's no secret we're probably going to have more students coming in. So figuring out how to not only accommodate them in a classroom, but make sure they're all getting on the right path. I think that's a great opportunity for growth. Getting kids interested in those different opportunities at an earlier age, starting elementary school, middle school. And then just the expansion of all the programs. The construction program is another one we haven't talked about yet. Like, that's really great. And figuring out where there are more opportunities for our kids to go into the workforce, and then giving them chances to learn in a way that will benefit them. The sky's the limit. There's so many places we could go. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The opportunities, you know, I think we have a great opportunity now to tell our story. You know, I know Mr. Perry talked about that at the beginning of the year. We've got to tell our story. We have an opportunity to do that. You know, when I say story, there's a lot of things to that I mean is, you know, you hear the comments about why are you not in multiple high schools? Well, let us tell you why. You know, there's an economic impact of that. Another thing that Mr. Perry has done that's amazing that brought this up and made perfect sense is with our bond dollars and construction dollars is, you know, the old way of doing education is when one elementary gets full, you just build another one. So now, instead of doing that, we've built these elementaries to where there's room for growth, expansion, and using taxpayer dollars wiser, so we do get the economy of scale within that, and being able to tell that story of what would it look, you know, we would not have exactly what we have today if we split to multiple high schools. The offerings, it's just not
AP
economical.
offerings.
Yeah, just not economical. I think being able to tell that story, and I think we have to continue to tell that because that's the archaic model of education is just split multiple high schools. You know what? Let's just go replicate it down here. And, you know, we're not going down that path. I mean, we haven't went down that path and expanding on what we have and being the very best of what we have. You know, our virtual, our college high with now the 4-year offerings potentially at NSU or the lower level and then the 4-year, combining those. I think there's a lot of things we can do. Looking for those college and number one is those career paths for kids that may not go to school. Not every kid's going to go to college, but we need to make sure when they leave Broken Arrow they're prepared for the workforce. Building partnerships. I think we can always expand on building good, solid partnerships with business, private entity, you know, private-public partnerships for things in the future. What our future bond would look like with private-public partnerships and those nature. I think those are great opportunities and where we can grow. And I think just and continue to do what we're doing and just get better and better at what we do.
Well, a follow-up question to that is I want to hear from you guys just your message to anybody out there in the community that may be listening to this, whether it's a teacher or a parent or even maybe a student that's listening to this podcast. What's your message to families across Broken Arrow Public Schools community as we close this thing out?
Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
Trying to think of, there's so much I want to say. Come talk to us. Come to meetings.
That was intentional. Why I said go first.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing you're doing right now. So.
I think, communication feels like that's been a thing. We're open. I think that's an important thing for people to know. Like, board is open if you want to talk. I don't know. I am open if you want to talk to me. I guess I won't speak for everybody.
I think it's safe to say, though, to your point. I think it's safe to say
good.
that.
I'll let our president say that. Don't just spread rumors if you're nervous about things or have questions. There's a lot happening. It's a big district, and it's easy for misinformation to spread or for there to be confusion. And so I'd say communication is key. You can talk to board members. We can help put you in contact with the right people. And there's so much to be excited about. That's my main message. There's so much to be excited about in Broken Arrow. We really have, I think, the best teachers, the best leadership. I think the best board. I don't know. Maybe not. Up there. We're definitely, I would say, I don't have any complaints about our board. And so keep in touch. Follow all the things. Our communication is excellent, I think. Our communication team really tries to make sure parents are informed of things. And if there is something missing or lacking, also very open to acknowledging that and seeing what we can do better. I think that's...
You know, I'm glad you brought that up or made those comments because I agree 100%. I think I would encourage our parents to not rely on the Facebook chat rooms or message boards for information. I think communication is critical. I agree. I know our board, I feel very comfortable saying our board is open for any communications from our patrons. You know, I ask, and it seems that like social media is, I remember when it first started, but now just like it's all consuming. That's where everyone goes and puts the big dump at, and then that's where it's at. I would encourage them to start at site levels for concerns, questions.
100%. Talk to that principal.
I agree. And there's a, I think in the way it's stated on the website, there's a complaint resolution process. I'd encourage them to follow that and what those steps are. I don't think it's good for our community, number one, outside of our school district to go air grievances on social media. I mean, if you're willing to put on social media, you should be willing to take the energy and time and effort to contact the site, those that are involved in those. I would encourage them to do that. Because remember, our students read those things too. Our teachers read those things too. I feel very confident saying there's not one teacher that wants to come to school every day and make it difficult on a child. They want to make an impact on a child. And I would just encourage them to try to steer away from the negativity on social media. I hate it. I hate the social media stuff. I think we've allowed it to impact how we communicate and decision making. It's easier to get on there. It seems that it's easier for people to get on there and be negative or ugly and say these things versus get up and pick up the phone and make a phone call, or send that email to that teacher or send that email to the board member. I would rather see those things versus what we have seen or what happens within social media. I don't think it's good. We have a great community. We have great people in this community. We have great teachers and great staff, and there's better ways to resolve things or get the answers that you want versus going there. And I would like us to do a better job of that. I've talked to Mr. Perry about this, the attitude of gratitude. And of 20,000+ students and 25+ staff, it is not going to be perfect every day. It just can't be. But be grateful that you do live in a community where they will listen to you. You may not always get the answer you want, but you have opportunities to get engaged and have conversations with the people that you need to, and just be grateful, because it's not like that everywhere. And we do live in the greatest community, and we have the greatest school district in Oklahoma.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in here to the Aerovision set and joining us. Mr. Chuck Perry, thank you for being here. Dr. Kate Williams and Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you.
And you can find this podcast anywhere you find your podcast, wherever you find them. We are there. Core Values, Everything Broken Arrow podcast. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.